Hey, what's going on, everyone? This hitter looking at the NASCAR Folds of Honor Quiktrip 500 picks for Draftkings and Fanduel starting this afternoon at 3 p.m. Hopefully, you guys all had a good day yesterday of MMA. It was not a very good day personally, but hopefully, some of you guys are able to make some money. We're going to get back on track with this NASCAR this afternoon. We have some nice tournaments across the sites, so we'll be looking forward to it. Before we get started, appreciate if you guys would hit the like on the video and subscribe if you have not already. This video I'll be touching on the drivers that I have a lot of interest in, the drivers who have done well at this track, some things to know about this track heading into the race, and just looking at some of the mispricing on DraftKings and some of the guys that have been priced right and priced too high. So let's get started here. At the top, Kevin Harvick is your most expensive driver, and that's because he has the most success at this track. If you look at his races at Atlanta, he has just some of the highest ratings you'll see. The 121 rating, 146, 137. He's finished fourth, first, ninth, sixth, second, basically top 10 in like 80% of his recent races here at Atlanta. He has done very well ever since he's been in the Ford model. So Kevin Harvick is the most expensive driver, but he looks like a very, very solid option. Not that interested in Kyle Busch right behind him, just because I would rather go with like more cheap options with like Chase Elliott or Truex or Kurt Busch. Speaking of some of those guys, Kurt Busch has done very well at this track as well in Atlanta. One of his best tracks um, ever. I mean, one of his best like spots to race ever. If you look at his ratings and look at his finishes, third, eighth, seventh, fourth, 13th, fourth, some big place differential upside with him recently. At this track, high rating. He usually does very well at this track at 9,400 on DraftKings. He looks like a decent option, which I'm not sure will get a ton of ownership. Brad Keselowski is just incredibly cheap. That's like one of the first guys that I like. He's first, second, and first in this track at the last three races, also with very, very high ratings. Only once fell below 89 rating, which was back in 2010, so he has done very well at this track. The drivers that I will be paying up for and have a lot of interest to pay up for is definitely Kevin Harvick. I like Denny Hamlin a little bit, but really it's Kevin Harvick, Chase Elliott, just because starting at the pole, one of the fastest cars going today, has a potential to lead a large portion of the race, especially the early portion. Martin Truex also has done very well at this track. Second, fifth, eighth, seventh, sixth recently. Should get into the top 10 today. Also very high driver ratings. Another spot that he does have a lot of success at just 9,600. On DraftKings, I like him, Kurt Busch. Keselowski is too cheap at 8,900, starting sixth. And then some GPP plays, I would say, is probably like Matt Kenseth. Now, Kenseth is very, very old now. He's 48 years old. 48 years old, but this is a track that he's had a lot of success at. Going back, it's definitely been a couple years for him as he took some time off and retired, and now he's back because of Kyle Larson getting suspended. But this is, if any race that he could finish in like the top 10, I would say that this is definitely one of his best shots to do so. Probably will come at low ownership. Nobody really likes to play him right now. But Kenseth, as you see by these finishes and starting spots and ratings, he has done well. He's only on DraftKings, he's a little bit more expensive than I would like at 8,100, but I think on FanDuel he looks pretty good. You have Ricky Stenhouse, always tough to play, but everybody's always scared to play him, which is why he never gets a lot of ownership. He's done fine at this track, nothing special, nothing great, but usually in the last couple races he started in the top 10. So now that he's starting in the 20th at this track, he started in the top 10 the last four. Now that he's starting in like the low 20s, potential to get some PD upside and potential to get you like top 10, top 15, I would say. Christopher Bell looks like he's going to be the chalk, I would say, at 7,400. He looks pretty popular. Some cheap plays that look popular today is definitely Christopher Bell. No problem going with him, but Erik Jones is the first guy that I would plug in on DraftKings comparatively on FanDuel. He's 9,000. This should not be cheaper than Suarez, should not be cheaper than Wallace or Bell or even Stenhouse. So Jones is very, very cheap. He's also done fine at this track, a young guy. But as you see, three top 15 finishes in his three races. Starting 14th, hopefully can get a little bit higher. But other than that, like even if he finishes like 13th or 12th, that 6,600 should be a nice value play. Cole Custer, 6,100, starting 31st, also looks very, very good. And then I'd say Michael McDowell at 5,200. If you need a punt cheap play, he looks very good at just 5,200. But going into the guys that I have, like, that I would try to get if I was just making one lineup, it would probably start with Brad Keselowski. 8,900 is just too affordable. I don't know if I will be paying up for, like, Kyle Busch or Hamlin, just because we have the three guys that I love a lot, even four guys, including Chase Elliott, that are below 10,000. So definitely Brad Keselowski, as you see how well he's done at this track. First, second, first recently, he should get into the top 10, unless, times that he didn't get into the top 10 were with an accident, two accidents, and an engine failure, and one back in 2010 when he was, like, very young. Definitely Brad Keselowski is the guy that I would start. I would also start with Erik Jones on Draftkings as a cheap, just a value play. 6,600 is too cheap for as good of a driver and a good of a like a potential upside that Jones possesses. Like, he has struggled some of these races, but really he should not be 6,600. He should be at least like in the 7 or 8, high 7 or low 8K range. And then you have Martin Truex. We've seen how well he has done at this track. I definitely would try to get Martin Truex in there for sure at 9,600 for the upside that he possesses. And then I like Kurt Busch at 9,400. So 7,750 left. You can go with a cheap option and then pay up, or go with a couple cheap options like Stenhouse or Bell. But these four I love a lot. Kevin Harvick also looking like a nice play. You're gonna need Kevin Harvick to lead a lot of these laps and get a, like, probably win if you think that he can do better than, like, point per dollar wise, do better than like Keselowski or Truex or Busch. You're gonna need him to finish at least first or second and lead a large portion. The guys below him, like Truex and Busch, give you a little bit more upside just based on the point per dollar wise, I would say. And that's why I have a little bit more interest in them right now. And I know Harvick's going to be very, very popular today. But I feel pretty good about going with the three top end drivers in Keselowski, Truex, Busch. You could even go with another one. You have Elliott right there, Logano, if you want to go there. But yeah, that's what I'm looking at for DraftKings. And now let's switch on over to Fanduel. Okay, over on Fanduel, we have some of the similar pricings. You have Kevin Harvick at the top. Kyle Busch is the second most expensive driver on both sites. Definitely would prefer Harvick over Kyle Busch for the place to frontal upside, for the better track history. Keselowski's a little bit more expensive on FanDuel, but I think he's where he should be. He has the second most success at this track at 13.2, starting 6th. Truex at 12.2 looks fine as well. I think FanDuel did a little bit better job of pricing the more expensive guys where they should be. Like, definitely Erik Jones at 9,000, I think, is definitely not as much of a priority as he is on DraftKings. But I like the same types of drivers on FanDuel if you need some savings. They give you guys to play at 3,000. I won't be touching any $3,000 guys. At $4,000, maybe you could take a shot on Suarez or Michael McDowell. If you want to go up a little bit more, you have Christopher Bell at 6,000. You have Ricky Stenhouse at 66. I like Kenseth as like a tournament cheap option, low owned play. Especially on FanDuel with only having 5 spots, you're going to have a lot of ties unless you leave some money on the table or you go with like some lower owned pivots, because there is a lot of chalk in NASCAR events. Like, people are going below 7,000. I'm sure they're going to be going for Christopher Bell, going for Cole Custer. If you just need one of them to, like, maybe like blow a tire or something like that, and you wipe out a large portion of the field if you go with like a Stenhouse, who's not going to get as much ownership. But I think Stenhouse looks fine. But right now on FanDuel, I have like Keselowski at 13.2. I like the upside that he possesses. I think he definitely can finish inside the top 3 at this race, just given how well he's looked at this track recently. Definitely like Martin Truex at 12.2 as well. Should be able to get into the top 10. Hopefully can push into the top 5. He's kind of got off to a slow start this year, but this is definitely a track that he's had a lot of success at. So Martin Truex looking very, very solid today. And I'd say that the third guy that I would go with if I was going cheap, just for a chance to be different on FanDuel, just probably go with like Ricky Stenhouse at 6,600. Stenhouse looked good last week before he once again crashed as as his nickname is like Recky Stenhouse or Spinhouse or whatever people make his nickname to be, because he's crashing at a very, very high clip this year. This is definitely a little bit risky, but sometimes you got to go risk to pay off and get those big wins. I think Stenhouse can do fine at this track at 6,600. I have a little bit more confidence that he can do well than going with like a Michael McDowell at 4,000, because, not that confident in him, especially if he's going to be mega chalk on Fanduel. So I think these three give you good upside. You still have $9,000 left to pay up or go with another cheap option. Really, if I was going cheap on FanDuel, it would be for like a Christopher Bell or a Michael McDowell at just 4,000 is very cheap. And I do like Kenseth. Matt Kenseth, like I said, for tournaments, he has looked pretty old. He's 48 years old, so he is like a fossil compared to some of these other NASCAR drivers. But if he can just wear it, like just do what he's been doing at this track for his last couple races, he should be a nice option today. So that's what I got for you guys for this race. Thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And good luck today.